Tap, tap, tap. It had started with those noises. Sunny Glade, a young mare on her own, and not taking the noises as much as Morris tapping at the night in the front of the door. It was probably just some critter noises, like probably just trying to get in. So she had left some bowls of food and water out for her. Whatever the little creature was, it didn't work. Every night, she would wake up once again and hear tapping. She was a light sleeper, and her ear is deftly sharp on picking up sound. Skill she had gained in a career as a musician. She could literally hear a pin drop. The next night, she decided to confront whatever it was, and as soon as she heard tapping, she grabbed up her flashlight and stormed down, threw the door open. No pony was out there, no matter how hard she looked. She didn't see any traces of any pony in the vacancy, not even in the bowls that she had left out were untouched. The only thing she could see, there was a slight intent of the wood in front of her, and the door, wherever she pointed, had been poking at. Sunny Glade huffed, suspected that the culprit was some late-night prankster, or drunk and with a mean sense of humor. She decided to call the guards out in the morning. But as she closed the door, the tapping started again. Sunny Glade threw open the door again, but met with nothing. For a few moments, Sunny felt scared. She quickly went back inside and locked herself and used the chain lock as well. She was for sure whoever was bothering her was a harmless prankster, but she felt a little safer with the extra lock on. She was a single mare out on her own in an unfamiliar town she had just moved into, so it would be not common that she might attract attention of a stallion with little intentions on her person. She made a firm mental note to call the guards in the morning about this. She went back to sleep, but soon after, she slept lightly with her can of pepper spray on her nightstand. The next day, she had called the guards before going to work. Her band had practiced for concert for days, and Sunny had already had to be for it. She couldn't let the events of her last night ruin her mood or skill. When she had just returned home that afternoon, she smiled at the sight of two guards doing their extra patrol in her area of the town. She would give the two guards a wave, and they would wave to her. Sunny went in her house and feeling confident that the tapping would stop. But after dinner, a warm romance novel was particularly heated engagement between the two protagonists that left Sunny blushing. She had slipped into a beautiful sleep, content that her tonight would finally have her peace and quiet. Tap, tap, tap. Sunny gasped, her eyes shooting wide open, and she bolted out of her bed. It was sound again. Sunny got out of bed and listened, hoping to hear a scuffle, or guards putting their cuffs on whoever that sick bastard was tormenting her. Tap, tap, tap. That was all she had heard. Again and again, the sequence of the rhythm. Sunny sucked in a breath and slowly made her way downstairs. The tapping noise kept up and seemed to get louder and louder with each step she took. As she drew closer to the door, the tapping stopped. Sunny held her breath and waited and waited. She must have waited for several minutes before smiling and figuring that the culprit was finally gone. Scratch, scratch, scratch. The sound of nails or claws racketing against her door made Sunny jump and looked at the door. She rushed through the door open, and once more she saw nothing outside. Her eyes slowly looked at her door now, and she felt her heart grew still, and a chill ran up her spine. 3 long scratch marks down through her door, just under the tapping mark, but worse. Sunny had shined her lights on the marks, and saw a faint glow of red blood mixed with the wood on the door. She looked outside and saw no sign of the guards. Sunny didn't want to jump to any conclusions. Maybe they were chasing on whoever was behind this sick joke. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Sunny then froze, hearing the scratching noises. This time, there were trees not far from her home, leading to the local wildlife park. It was hard to see in the dark, and her flashlight's beam did not extend far, but she could hear the scratching. Then the tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Sunny then quickly slammed her door and locked it. She sucked in a breath and covered her ears. Why? Why? Who must be doing this to her? She had never done anything wrong to any pony. What reason did they have to do this to her? Was it just a sick game? And where were the guards? Was it some sort of animal? Sunny's thoughts bothered her so much that she nearly leapt out of her skin when she heard the tapping noise once more. At the door, Sunny looked at the door before quickly running upstairs to her room and slamming and locking the door. She threw herself under the covers. She threw her pillow over her ears, and she hoped and prayed that it would muffle the noise. Tap, scratch, tap, scratch. Sunny didn't get any sleep that night. The following day, tired and exhausted, Sunny then went downstairs to guard the house, hoping to demand an explanation. When she arrived, she saw that all the guards were busy, and when she came up to the desk, the pony was there to take down her captain's office. She asked him why she was brought down here, and wished she hadn't. 2 guards that had been sent on patrol in her neighborhood had just found her outside of the edge of the woods. Their bodies were hanging from the trees, mutilated as if someone or something had torn them apart. The autopsy was still in the works, but whatever had killed them must have done it swiftly and instantly. The captain asked her if she knew anything that could help with the investigation, although Sunny wondered if she was behind it. She told the captain everything about the past few nights. The captain hummed and rubbing his cheek. "Thank you. That will be all," he had said, before letting Sunny leave. Sunny left the guardhouse feeling disturbed and sick. More so, she felt worried. What had killed the guards? Whatever it was tapping on her door? Sunny felt a chill later that evening. She practically ran home for her practice and locked all of her doors and windows. She had held tightly to a bat that she had in her closet, wishing that she had the bits of a spell gun. Then she waited. An hour passed, she finally heard it. Tap, tap, scratch. Sunny then sucked in a breath, but slowly tiptoed down the stairs to the door. Her brain was telling her to run and hide, but Sunny was sick of running and hiding. She was tired, exhausted, terrified even. If this was some sort of animal, she wanted it gone. She wanted it back, her life back. She wanted peace and quiet. Yet whatever it was out there was dangerous. She did not want to go out rushing out, so she slowly held within a breath. Sunny stood up on her hind legs and peeked through the door on the spyglass hole, and tried to see if she could catch a glimpse of whatever it was out there. But what she saw, a chill went up her spine and nearly had her recoil in fright. There outside the door was a lanky figure. It shrouded in the night, but Sunny was sure that she could make out pale, almost stretched like skin on fin, almost bone-like body. The creature, whatever it was, sat down, crouched on its long, spindly limbs that folded backwards. Its front legs acted more like a minotaur's arms, and they were folded up against its long, finned, pointed claws to trap at the wood of the door. Its head was now round, like oval-shaped, with no signs of ears, and with no hair at all. In fact, the entire creature's body was hairless and had no sign of it if it was male or female. It just sat there, tapping at her door. Sunny watched with a sense of terror building at this creature. She held a breath, afraid of that any movement or breathing could alert its presence. Tap, tap, scratch. The creature went on its own pattern. Before its head slowly stared up at the door, Sunny fought back a scream as she looked at the oval-shaped head, with nothing more than 2 big red eyes, with no distant iris, no nose, not even a mouth that she could see. The creature was the way it was staring at the door, almost as if it was staring it through the spyglass. Sunny could only stare back. Slowly the creature lifted its claw from the door and began tapping outside the portion of the door's spyglass hole. Sunny screamed, falling back with a thud, and moved away from the door. Tap, 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 tap. It knew. It knew she was there. It knew that she'd been looking at it. Sunny began to hyperventilate. Rushing to her room, she grabbed the couch, and with all of her strength she had, pushed it against the door to act as if it was a barrier, brushed up against her room. She did the same with her bed, pushing it against the door. She did not sleep that night either, only sat in the corner of the room, watching the window and the door, listening to the tapping in her room. Sunny began to cry, begging for it all to stop, praying to whatever in their higher power was to deliver her from her nightmare. The tapping eventually stopped, but Sunny didn't move. She just listened and watched, and as she looked at her bedroom door, the sound of glass being tapped against brought her attention to the window. Sunny screamed again, and as she saw the silhouette of a form of a long, spiny, claw-like appendage and an oval-shaped head crawling up against her house wall and tapping at her window. The creature stared at her, silent and constantly tapping. Sunny screamed and threw herself onto the closet. She stayed awake all night, clutching her bat tightly. When the sun finally arose that morning, the creature was gone, but it had left deeper marks on the door and scratches on the window. Sunny cried that day, and she didn't go to practice. She had to leave. She had to get out and get away from this town, get away from this creature. But she couldn't. She had spent so much money on this home, and her savings were low, and she didn't have the bits to buy a new house, much less an apartment in the city. And if she could sell her house, who would buy it? What will she say about the door? And the dead guards are already causing some houses that had once been pending on for ponies to move into, to go back into the market again, once the world of murder had been spread onto the news. She was trapped here in this house in this town, and Sunny felt that the creature knew it. For days after, Sunny didn't sleep a wink. Her music practice faltered, and she was cut from the band. Every night the creature would return to tap on the door, or scratch at it, and if it went to the window, it was just her door. She had nailed that door covered with boards just to be sure. Sunny tried to ignore the sounds, but she could always hear it in her head. Tap, tap, tap. Like a constant companion it was, haunting her mind, it was driving her crazy. Sunny felt like she was going to lose her mind when she heard something. She had peeked outside of her bedroom door to stare down the stairs in front of her door. Click. In the dark, she barely made out the slender, dark-shaped, claw-like appendage, thin and spindly, worming its way through the door. It must have made a hole in the door and constant poking, and now its finger could be slid into her home. Sunny watched with horror as the claw moved like a snake, its multi-jointed hands moving to flick at the lock on the door and pushed away from the chain. The door slowly sliding open, and the creature crawling on all fours. Sunny slammed her door shut and locked it, and threw her onto the bed once more, and then on the nightstand. It covered itself in blankets in the corner and hid under them. Tap, tap, tap. The sound began again. This time it was on her bedroom door. It's been about a week now, and Sunny is exhausted that her health is terrible. She could barely focus now. She hasn't come and left her house in a few days, fearful that she can leave her room till during the day. Every night the tapping sound would come back, with scratching between each tap. Tap, scratch, tap, scratch. Sunny sucked in a bit of a breath to pause at the noise, and the fear gripped onto her heart as she heard it. Click. It unlocked her door, opens and bumping against her bed. Bam, bam, bam. The creature slams the door against the bed, each time moving until there was a tiny gap at the door. Sunny watches in horror as the thin creature slowly crawls through the gap, its oval-shaped head squeezing through the gap, and crawls around onto the bed. Sunny then turns and hides herself in the cupboards, looking away. She can hear it move. It's right next to her. She could feel its breath. She could feel its spindling claws dragging themselves across the floor, making her slight ripping sounds against the fabric. Then the sounds on her wall get just above her head. Tap, 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 tap. Sunny began to cry, unsure of what to do. The creature is just standing there inches from her, tormenting her with what infernal noise. It never once stopped, even as she cried. Sunny couldn't take it anymore. That noise, That horrible noise! Bam, bam, bam. Sunny began to hit her head against the wall, trying down to drown out the tapping noise. She had kept going through all night, and her head was now the creature's claw, moving in sync with each other. Tap, bam, tap, bam, tap, bam. Sunny stared at the white walls of her new room. The light was bright and her room was comfy and soft. She tried to move, but found her limbs restrained to her new coat. She couldn't quite remember how she got here. It was also very fuzzy. The guards had shown up in her house, and apparently alerted by something, they had took Sunny away and brought her down to a hospital. The doctors, yes, they'd been doctors. Apparently she couldn't go home. She was sick, they said. They said they were nice, though. They gave her a new jacket to wear all the time, and even gave her this lovely room. Was even a part of a new community. The ponies were nice to her, very cheerful. Some would always burst into laughing for no reason at all. Yes, it was a fine community. And the room. Sunny loved her new room, and it was so peaceful, so quiet, and the walls were so very soft, almost like snow. Sunny liked the walls. They didn't hurt her head as much. Slowly Sunny tilted to the side of her new room, humming to herself a small little tune, enjoying the soft presses of her wall against her head every few seconds. She thought so. She could hear something tapping at the door. Tap, 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 tap.